Alright guys, Granit Xhaka is a player who has improved massively for Arsenal this season. I thought he had a reasonably decent season last year, but if you compare his performances week in, week out for Arsenal at the moment to what they were just 2 or 3 years ago, if we go back to the start of Arteta's reign as in charge of Arsenal, it is a huge difference. Now, Granit Xhaka is a player who I've always rated because I think in terms of technique, he is right up there with many of the top midfielders in world football. But the question at the moment is he actually a world-class footballer? Because so far, I think you can make a case that he has been probably the best box-to-box midfielder so far in the Premier League this season, because I genuinely can't think of anyone who has been better than him. I know there's names you could sort of throw out there, but at Man City you've got players like Bernardo Silva or Ilkay Gundogan arguably, but they're not playing week in, week out like Granit Xhaka is. And he is now one of Arsenal's best players this season. I think that is a 100% definite. Because I think he's played every single game for them and they've won 7 out of their 8 games so far this season. And he's got 5 goal contributions in those 8 games, which for a player in his position is a really good achievement, because goals, he's always chipped in with a few Xhaka, but they're usually like long range thunderbolts. But this season, with the way that Arsenal are playing, they almost play, even though it's like 4-3-3 on paper with the holding midfielder usually being Thomas Partey if he's fit, it's almost like they play like a 2-3-2-3, if that makes sense. So you've got the 2 centre-backs, William Saliba and Gabriel, who stay quite deep. And then you've got Ben White and either Zinchenko or Kieran Tierney, who push forward and sort of get into the midfield a little bit. And then that allows Granit Xhaka and, say, Martin Odegaard to push forward right next to the front three of, let's say, Saka, Jesus and Martinelli. Now, Xhaka is usually in a position where he can sort of feed the ball into Martinelli on the left-hand side, or he can play a nice pass to Gabriel Jesus, Jesus gets a shot off, or even they can set him up and he can get the shots off. That's how he's scoring the goals this season that he has. So attacking-wise, he's definitely shown that he's got more to his game than people thought he had to offer this season with the advanced role that Mikel Arteta has given him so far this season. And yeah, I think he's shown in the past as well in certain games, although the consistency hasn't been there, that he can be a very, very good footballer. I remember a game that stands out to me was 18 months ago at the Euros, France versus Switzerland. I think it was a 3-3 draw in the end, but for me, he was the man of the match in that game. Without him, I don't think Switzerland would have been able to put it back level and eventually win on penalties. Yes, but the problem with Xhaka has always been that it's always felt like he is a bit hot-headed and it only takes one mistake and he loses his head, and that's him finished like mentally for a few weeks or so. And we haven't seen him make any mistakes that I can think of so far this season. But yeah, I think we do need to wait a full season. If he can keep up this level of performance, then I think he has to go down as a world-class midfielder, because right now that's what he is. I think the other thing to point out is that he has now got better players around him. So if you've got better players around you, you've got players who will get into better positions, meaning that you're less likely to lose the ball. Like he's got 86% pass accuracy, which for a player in the Premier League is quite good going in midfield. It's nothing outrageous, obviously, but it's still very good, meaning that 6 of every 7 passes or so are, completed, which is good. But I just think he's so much better now that he has this protection behind him. Arsenal, for so many years now, since Xhaka's been at the club, have had a poor defence, if we're being completely honest. When Xhaka joined, it was Koscielny, who I've always thought was a good defender. Very, very old by this stage, per Mertesacker and Shkodran Mustafi. That and also the fullbacks. Bellerin's never been great defensively. Monreal was all right, but it didn't stay for long while Xhaka was at Arsenal. And that left back spot's always been fairly up for grabs purely because of the amount of players who, like Kieran Tierney, who've always had injury problems. So he has got a more consistently available and high quality team around him to play with, which will definitely help Xhaka. But I do feel as though his game has definitely matured over the past 6 or 7 months. Because even last season, I thought he was a level up on what he had been in years before. He's playing a slightly different role this season. I think that's partly because Mikel Arteta has brought in a couple of defenders this summer in which he wanted in Zinchenko and Saliba, which are allowing him to play the system he wants, which means Xhaka can get forward and contribute more attacking wise. So yeah, for me, to answer this question and bring an end to this video, is Granit Xhaka world class? I would say it's probably a bit too soon to say he is. He's performing like a world class midfielder right now, but we are only 8 games into the Premier League season, so I think it's a bit early to make a call on it just yet. But if he keeps it up, then yes, I think he has to go in that brackets. And what I will say is, so far, for me, he has been the best central midfielder in the Premier League this season. But anyway, thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you next time.